and women were created as divine beings of equal standing in the eyes of the Unisci. The only difference when you are in a gender world between men and women is the polarity and not a value. Each polarity, male, female, has its strengths. When we start to embrace the concept of polarity, we come to recognize that our power to love, manifest, and ascend lies within unifying the polarities. The male electrical polarity, or man A, dominant, has a little advantage as far as a push in transmitting frequency. The female, or ear A dominant form, has a little more advantage in receiving and pulling frequency. Without being able to pull in higher frequencies that the females are good at doing, you would not be able to undergo the process of higher identity integration. In every man and woman, there exists the opposite expression. Both men and women are transmitters and receivers. But if you are in a female body, you will tend towards the ability to pull in frequency. You can still transmit, but your strength will be pulling and drawing frequency. If you're in the male body, your strength will be transmitting frequency. The original intention of unification of male and female was a recognition of each other's strengths and knowing that if you put the two together, you have a unified power of a balanced pull and a balanced push. The male push would amplify the female push, and the female would amplify the male pull, so you become whole faster. There used to be a divine order to sexual union between male and female, between the polarities. Males and females were intended to accelerate each other's integration of higher identities. Through certain belief systems, men and women began vying for power from each other. People began to align in sexual unions that were not appropriate for the codings involved, and it made it so most of us could not integrate the higher levels of identity because through sexual union, we built up more distortions instead of accelerations. Men and women were intended to accelerate each other's evolution. There is an etheric crystal program in the second chakra. When we begin to heal the etheric crystal program in the second chakra, we are going to open ourselves to what was the natural program with respect to male-female, polarity, balance in our own bodies, as well as electrical magnetic balance within our hologram. When these crystals are released, if you have a polarity imbalance with respect to your beliefs, for example, they will come up to be healed. Remember that your consciousness is the camera, and you can change the filters. Beliefs are ideas. Ideas turn into sound patterns of electromagnetic light and sound when they are in the body. If your beliefs and the things that you choose to honor with your mind are not in divine alignment as far as what creates harmony and peace, it will literally create blockages in your bioenergetic field that block the ability of the higher levels to integrate. The concept of twins. We have a physical twin in this reality that is our genetic twin. Twins in this three-dimensional reality system are referred to as fraternal twins, identical twins, and Siamese twins. Fraternal twins come from two separated seeds or eggs, and identical twins come from the same seed. Gender twins come from the same seed as well. The difference is that genetic twins come from the human seed, while gender twins come from the God seed. So your gender twin is your divine complement. Our planet has a twin called Parallel Earth. Our Eka has a twin called Parallel Eka. This is where we get the Li Tor A and the Li Adore flames. It is all different levels of consciousness. Our sun has a twin. Our whole stairway to heaven system has a twin. The concept of twins implies that there is one that is predominantly electrical and one that is predominantly magnetic. When the two energies come into balance, manifestation begins to take place. We live in a PCM, which is Particum universe, that has a female monad at dimension 13. Its twin in the PKA, which is Partica universe, and has a male monad at dimension 13. They are the opposite expression of each other. Incarnation cycle. When a being incarnates on the planet, they take on as part of their genetic code, part of their DNA template that first sets the vibrational variances of the time frame that the planet is in. Then they will have a certain vector, which is a smaller cycle within that cycle, that will be the single line time vector that they will perceive. We have a time cycle which governs a whole density level. There are 6 what are called the time continua, which are smaller cycles, and they govern cycles of evolution on a planetary body. Then within continuum cycles, there are even smaller cycles called time vectors. Please see my video about timelines and time continuas. When incarnations come in, they place themselves in a time vector and one of those specific sets of vibration within a set of vibration and within a set of vibration. The process of moving from birth through death is a process of moving your consciousness from a point of its lowest frequency and bringing it in more energy and raising the frequency of the consciousness, which gives you the perceptual hologram of moving through moments, forward and backward, moving through time and space. It is a holographic projection that we are walking around in, but that won't make much sense to you until you get to the 4th or 5th strand activation happening. When you start to go into the 4th strand activation, you will start to play with the concept, and you might even play with it seriously. The DNA strand templates are very important if spirituality is important to you, because it is through your DNA strand templates that your higher consciousness holds that cognition, because it has to come into the body. As we activate DNA, we experience forward movement of your consciousness through time within the vessel that the template is in. And as we progressively expand, picking up more of the frequencies in the DNA activating our templates, we bring in more and more of the consciousness from the higher dimensional fields that is ours, and we progressively change our relationship to space-time. It becomes less and less a real thing to us the further we evolve. What you find in the process of activating DNA that incorporate and integrate your spiritual identity is not only does your consciousness expand, but that your body form changes with that expansion. The body forms can hold only so much energy. The human body can hold 12 dimensions of frequency running, and that is good. That means that it can stand heat. That means that it can undergo expansion without having it to leave its association with the physical matter form. At this point in time, we know ourselves right now as me. When you get to be the 6th strand activated being, you will say, I know myself as they. There is a knowing that comes in the emotional body where you get this huge cognition. You start to have a freedom feeling because you realize that you are getting free from linear time. That is how you progressively work yourself out of linear time. You expand into a space of, I am 12 or 24 or 36 different people down there. And this one is exploring this, and this one is exploring that. It is like being an actor who decides to play at the same time a bunch of characters who take on different garments and takes on different roles and different players to learn different things and to stress different things. When we incarnate, we become God as sound, Kundalini. We become God as light, Ki Rasha. And we become God as a Christos template. And then we become God as a dimensionalized fields below dimension 12. They are all energy currents of the consciousness of God. When we incarnate, we take on form diversification and become affiliated with a species, a race line, a family line. We all have a Christos matrix that our oversoul matrix came out of, which our soul matrix came from, and a soul matrix out of which we came. The density 4, or harmonic universe 4, Christos creates 12 oversouls in density 3. Density 3 is also harmonic 3. The density 3 oversoul creates a set of 12 souls in density 2, or harmonic universe 2. The density 2 soul self creates a set of 12 selves down in density 1, or harmonic universe 1. There are 144 selves in density 1 that came out of 12 souls. This is our immediate family of consciousness. The importance of understanding the reality of incarnation is that it helps to understand your relationship down here and something called twinning. The mathematics in time matrices are a base 12 system. We come into incarnations on what is called a 12 clock. A 12 clock is a cycle of 12 simultaneous incarnations placed in various different time vectors within the same Earth cycle. When we come into incarnation, visualize in your mind a round clock with 12 digits on it. If you were a soul, the numbers on the clock would represent the 12 incarnate selves that you are going to be put down at the same time in the time vectors in density 1 on Earth. The first ones to come in are 6 and 12 position. They carry the most energy. Out of the 12 comes this 3 position. And at the same time, out of the 6 comes a 9 position. They are known as the 4 faces of the soul because they carry the most of the energy of that soul. Then there are the smaller cycles that would fill in the numbers in between 12, 6, 3, and 9. If you take a clock and draw the lines across from each number, you will notice that each number has a number directly across from it that represents the smaller cycles. And when you incarnate, you come in most of the time half and half. The first time you come in as a soul, the first 2 incarnations are placed in time vectors that represent the 6 and 12 positions in the 12 cycle, which would be male, female. There is a formula to incarnations that become a reality for us. Angelic humans have 1,728 selves running around in a 15-dimensional time matrix. If you are an indigo, you have many more. An indigo 2 with a 24-strand double diamond sun DNA template would have 3,456 selves. An indigo 1 with 48 strands emerald sun DNA template, you would have 6,912 selves in a 15-dimensional time matrix. That is a lot of you. When we talk about the 12 cycles or the 12 clock, it shows the process that happens when we get into numbers with respect to incarnation. Look at incarnation as a mathematical process, a spiritual process that uses the form of mathematics to express itself. Mathematics is really a form that God uses to express parts of its consciousness. Time matrix. The mathematics are base 12 in the time matrices, which gives the ability to have a 3-dimensional systems. We are in a 15-dimensional time matrix. Each harmonic universe is broken into 3 dimensions. There are 5 3-dimensional universes, 3-dimensional systems in a 15-dimensional time matrix. This is the primal order. Our incarnations are structured according to that primal order. When we talk about families of consciousness, it is very useful to realize that creation follows a specific planned order of coming down through the scalar grids, through the density levels, through the first primal sound fields of consciousness. It's called Kundalini. And then the primal light fields of consciousness. It is called Kirashe. and then the down into Christos template pre-matter liquid light, further individuating into the smaller dimensional fields below D12. D12 is in harmonic universe 4, called Aramatena. It's also density 4, and it holds 3 dimensions. It holds dimension 10, 11, and 12. When we individuate from source, we leave a part of ourselves, consciousness, at each station of reality that are fixed structures of primal order that we exist within it simultaneously. You have various cycles of 12, but they will always go into 12s because that is the mathematical formula. The base 12 mathematical system that is the formula of creation. You have your incarnate self here in density 1, harmonic universe 1. You have what is called a soul in density 2, harmonic universe 2, which is the gestalt of consciousness. It is the one being that chooses to express in sets of 12 smaller beings down in density 1. On density 3, harmonic universe 3, you have your oversoul. On density 4, harmonic universe 4, you have your avatar, your Christed self. On density 5, harmonic universe 5, you have your Rishi self, which is your connection to the Bruna, Kira, Shah, Rishi light fields. They are the fields of the living light consciousness. And beyond the Kira Shah fields, you have a part of you in the Kundalini primal sound fields of the energy matrix, in the Yanas collectives. Every being has its trail, its family of consciousness that is an energetic connection that is always there. It has a direct connection between who you are here and the expanded levels of self until you completely expand back into source. As you evolve out of density 1, you collect the consciousness you had in density 1, pull it back into 1 point, and it literally creates fusion of the particles that the consciousness took on in order to have form here. Those particles are called partikai, partika, and particum. Then they undergo fusion at the next level and replicate the form in the next density up, in a less dense form. All the 12 cycles here become one identity there, a set that is your soul self. It has a body form in the second density reality fields that is semi-etheric and is much less dense than density 1 and much healthier than the human body forms here on density 1, harmonic universe 1, which is Earth. That process continues and goes back up to density 3. And you take 12 souls and they make one oversoul in density 3, harmonic universe 3. You take 12 oversouls and they make one Christos template in density 4, harmonic universe 4, Aramatena. The 12 cycle goes all the way up. We have a twin at each level of the time matrix and beyond. We have an incarnate twin, a soul twin, an oversoul twin, an avatar twin, a Rishi twin, and beyond. The founder races in our 15-dimensional time matrix were created by the Aani Eka races and by their twin races, which are in what is called the parallel Eka. This is where we get the Adon A and their related races. As we get closer to the point where we are getting ready to make our journey out of density 1, we may be scrambling to gather any remaining codes that we need for our template. Even if you are with your ecodic twin, and you know you are, you may be missing some of the codes from your middle level twins. Primary twins, twin flames. In the process of incarnation, we have what are called primary twins. A primary twin is something different than an incarnate twin. A primary twin would be if you are the number 6 incarnate in that group of 12, your twin would be the 12. That 6 through 12 alignment is called the primary twins or the twin flames. The 12 through 6 incarnations basically direct the rest of the matrix, the rest of your incarnations, and they are the ones you come back into being in order to go back up to leave density 1, so you don't have to do cycles of incarnations anymore. The base pattern of the human imprint is 6 and 12. One is male and one is female. We have a part of ourselves in an opposite gender body that is called a gender twin. It is a twin flame. It is a 6 through 12 or a 3 through 9 alignment. The 12 is usually male. If the 12 is male, the 3 it creates is female. If 6 is female, the 9 it creates is male. The 3 and 9 become the next set of twins. They are placed in different time vectors within the same time cycle. At different times when it's time for you to experience ascension to the next level, which would be density 2, harmonic universe 2, you're going to pass from the physical matter density, carbon-based biology, to a semi-etheric density, and so on up the scale. This is how we expand back into source. There's a whole relationship between the way time cycles work on a planet and time vectors that twins are placed in when they come together. Sometimes you won't meet your twin in a particular lifetime. And when it comes to the real twins that aren't just soulmates, they run into each other only at the final, when they reach their original point of vibration. First, you'll have an incarnation where the 3 and 9 twin happens. You'll run into your twin in the same time vector. You usually know something's up because it's a very strong resonance. What happens with twins is that the 12 pattern that you came in on the sets of the DNA template, the characteristics that you will have reflected in the twins. You both have the same DNA template, one expressing dominantly man A, a frequency, and one expressing dominantly air A frequencies, which means one is more electrical and one is more magnetic, but they're expressions of the same pattern. So there is a very strong biological resonance between twins. When it comes to the natural cycles of ascension, what normally happens is that the time vectors of a planet move into a certain way that twins are brought together when it's the last time, the last incarnation, and they're not going to experience any more cycles because they've hit the original vibration that they came in on, and then they come back together. And that's where it feels like your eternal, forever companion mate. You just have this charge between you. Roosh and twins. The 12 position holds the entire pattern within itself. Also, the 12 and the 6 position are equal and hold the energy of the whole. The Roosh is formed as follows. The 12 and 6 points are created. The 6 creates the 9 position, and the 12 creates the 3 position. And then each of the 4 points phase and create the polarized outer 8 points. The 12 is usually male, and the 3 it creates is female. If the 6 is female, the 9 it creates is male. 4 faces of the soul. As we have already discussed, the first twins to come in are the 12 and the 6 positions within the incarnation cycle. Out of the 12 comes a 3 position, and out of that comes a 6 and the 9 position. They become the next set of twins. They are known as the 4 faces of the soul because they carry most of the energy of that soul. The 4 faces of the soul represents the 4 parts of self in density 1 that you need to assemble to get yourself to the next level. These would be your 4 primary aspects of self. You have yourself plus a gender twin on this side with complementary shields, coding, and a set of you on parallel. These represent the 4 faces of the soul: incarnation and soulmates. There is significance in the number incarnations that you are within the 12 cycle. If you happen to be in your number 4 incarnation, you will still have a soulmate, but that's different than a twin. It's your twin, but you're not in the 4 primary incarnations yet. You still have some cycles to go before you get to those. If you run into that person in your time vector, they will be a partner to be, but it will be a relationship to move on to the next. It will not be one that is forever. I know, you guys, it's such a bummer, right? We always just think there's that one, but there's not. But just hold on, because there's more. You can ask your own Christos self to tell you which number you are in the 12 cycle. Take a moment to reconnect with your Maharic pillar and pose this question to your Christos. Out of 12, what number is my incarnation? Am I a 6 or am I a 12? Take a moment to reconnect with your Maharic pillar and pose this question to your Christos. When we use the analogy of the 12 clock, if you can draw a line directly across the clock to the number opposite it on the clock, each number has a number directly across from it. If you were in your 11 incarnation, your soulmate would be the number 5 in the incarnation cycle. You are not yet in your last incarnation cycle where you would meet your twin flame. There's a thing that happens with the twins that's different from your average relationship on the planet. There's much more compatibility of frequency, where love is a state of vibrational harmonization. If you have DNA codes that are very similar, even if there's dissimilarity, you will still have all those frequencies that plug in. And when those frequencies in the DNA template plug in between people, it allows for open frequency to flow between you, which gives the emotional body the feeling that we identify as a feeling of connection and love and comfort. Divine complement. As mentioned in the beginning, men and women were created as divine beings, each holding a sacred piece of their other within. Gender twins usually end up as romantic couples because there is such a strong biological draw due to having full bonding of DNA strands 7 through 12, creating DNA templates that are very, very similar, where the level of love, bonding, understanding, support, and friendship is just there. With gender twins, the progressive coming together of divine coupling serves to stimulate rapid activation of each other's gene codes in order to progressively, synchronistically be able to work their way into ascension together. Twinning has to do with the DNA template, which has to do with how DNA works in the body. When you put 2 twins together, when they come together in sacred union, you're able to hold a huge energy field together, helping each other evolve and expand, bringing in the higher consciousness. When 2 gender twins come together and begin the fusion of their DNA templates, they have the ability to rapidly activate their own Merkaba, accelerating their own DNA strand template activation. Gender twins can hold in each of their bodies 3 times as much energy as either could hold alone. Indigo gender twins can anchor the Kundalini frequency, that is the primal sound fields. And when you put people together of the Ayani Council or indigos, we can anchor the Kundalini frequency alone with their gendered twin, and they can anchor 3 times the amount of Kundalini frequency. When you put 2 together, they have 3 times the power than each alone, and the 2 become 3 and the 3 become 1. They exist as intensified energy forms. Indigo twins. Indigos come in with a twin in every time vector. A time vector is a set repeating pattern of vibration that goes through a variance of vibration until it comes back to its original point. Everything is built on the science of vibrational mechanics. So time is actually the experience of consciousness moving itself through a set of fixed vibration variance patterns to evolve. Not only do indigos have one twin in their own time vector, they have another set in the inner Earth time vector at the same time and another set on the parallel Earth time vector. There's that extra inner Earth set of manifestations that goes with the indigo imprint. That's the Ayani Council that the 12-strand angelic human imprint doesn't have. With the human imprint, there is a polarization of the DNA strands from the D12 subharmonics all the way down. It gives the feeling of separation and individuation. With the indigo imprint, there's polarization in the strands only from D6 down. There's full bonding and total mirroring of the templates of the DNA from strands 7 and up. It creates not quite full separation from each other, but allows them to anchor the Kundalini, which is the primal sound fields, and the Kirasha, the primal light fields frequencies. If you are totally separated into polarity, you cannot anchor those frequencies. The indigo flame pair is the exact same being from strands 7 and up because they have the same coding. When you separate gender twins, it creates a very, very deep pain inside, a biological felt ache that doesn't go away. If the other is not where it's supposed to be, it can be felt. It is often felt as the pain of separation in one's whole being. We've been living under that since 22,500 BC, when the Nubarian dyadic crystal grid was activated. Gender twins misfire. The cosmic clock that determines the angle that frequency comes into our reality system and our biological system was messed with the planetary and solar shields, which created a distortion where gender twins misfire in their time pulsation and do not incarnate on the planet simultaneously. So they rarely run into each other due to the vibrational pattern timeline misalignments. One of the reasons this was done, so gender twins can't find each other and do not do the nasty deed. That nasty deed isn't necessarily about sex. Gender twins can still do it by combining fields because their DNA templates have the abilities to merge without being physically together. One of the greatest secrets of the Moda Adhara complex is that the male and female exist inside each of us. In a particular part of the anatomy, we contain the entire program of the other, which means we have our gender twin inside of us, as well as its being around outside of us. One of the fastest ways to bring it in is to activate it in the inside. The mathematical program that we exist as always contains a gender twin within it. Therefore, activation of our twin self is not entirely dependent on whether or not our twin is on this planet with us. The Moda Adhara complex holds our inner twin. It means you are not stuck waiting around somewhere after this incarnation waiting for your gender twin to ascend. The Moda Adhara complex is a set of crystalline structures in our bioenergetic system that allowed for the balance of polarities within, which was shut off due to a past planetary cataclysm. It was this Moda, male, Adhara, female, complex that kept the male and the female energies in balance. Mass twinning event. Planetary drama in December 2000 through the end of 2001, the Guardians needed to re-establish control over Stargate 4 and Stargate 5 by overriding them with the frequencies from Stargate 6, mindful of the fact that this would cause planetary grid acceleration and that the humans were intimately connected to the planetary grids, they created what is called the mass twinning event to prevent everyone on the planet from getting fried by the incoming frequencies. The twinning event goes back to the Nibirian diodic crystal grid. This is one of the nastiest things that was done to this race. What are the Nibirian diodic crystal grid? They are photosonic standing wave crystalline technology that was installed in Earth's Templar 25,500 BC. The Nibirian diodic crystal grid photosonic program blocks and reverses the polarity in a number of Earth's axonal lines and ley line grids, creating a checkerboard of some frequency active, some frequencies dominant in Earth's planetary shields, thus the name of the checkerboard matrix. The Nibirian diodic crystal grid carries its frequency program via 24 primary and many secondary Nibirian crystal temple complexes that exist beneath Earth's crust. The 24 primary Illuminati underground control bases are located at these sites. The checkerboard matrix has blocked natural activations of the human DNA templates and that of all Earth species, creating a horrific genetic disorder called the checkerboard mutation. The Nibirian diodic crystal grid checkerboard mutation reduced the human lifespan, affected the chemical DNA and brain function, and blocked race memory. What the fallen angelics did with the diodic crystal grid was throw codes in that mismatched and scrambled the timelines, just enough where gender twins could not come together. That kept everybody trapped down here, because if you don't merge with the coding of your gender twin, either here or on the astral, you don't get the final activation where you both become one again to get to the next level. That's one way they have trapped human souls here, scrambling the timelines in Earth's grids so the natural gender twin cycle would not come together. What they did instead was they tried to pair up humans with Anunnaki to continually hybridize, progressively trying to hybridize us for our 12-strand potential. If it wasn't for the nasty programs being sent through the diodic crystal indigos would be able to adapt because they have the ability to do a higher strand capacity to activate the lower ones a little faster. If the incoming frequencies and subsequent grid accelerations due to activation of Stargate 6 was initiated and just left at that, it would kill most people on the planet. It would create total deterioration over a few years of the immune system and all body systems because the body could not hold that amount of frequency that rapidly. The mass twinning event was orchestrated by the Guardians to reprogram some of the scrambled timelines, just enough to start putting the natural time cycles back together by descrambling the scrambled timelines, which are vibrationally patterns that control when twin runs into each other. This allowed gender twins to come back into each other's time vectors. If at all possible, the Guardians are helping us to come into union with the twin that would be our highest twin available. The mass twinning event also accelerated the process to even humans that are not in an indigo body that normally wouldn't be in their last incarnation here, would have an opportunity to meet their gender twin. If we can be reunited with our Maharic twin, that will be done. They can hold huge amounts of frequency together. They can anchor very large Merkaba vehicles. And when you put two together, they have 3 times the power than each alone. There's an exponential thing that happens with the energy when you bring twins together. They exist as intensified energy forms. The mass twinning event was orchestrated through the planetary grids for a very specific reason. If they're going to amplify the grid speed, bringing in the 6-dimensional frequency to the point where it would basically biologically kill everybody because their bodies can't hold enough frequency, you pair them up with a body that has a matched DNA template, and you can hold 3 times the amount of frequency, which creates immunity to the grid acceleration and makes you a very powerful resource if you so choose to serve that way. If you are not with your twin, You will get assigned your twin on the astral level, which will be like just having a buddy in energy form that will help you hold the amplified frequency that's running through the grids. It will not be a sexual relationship in the astrals. This is going to be done all over because basically humans have to activate the 6 DNA strand template to be able to hold the frequency in the body without their body becoming sick and deteriorating and dying more rapidly. The twinning is going to ensure that people don't get fried by frequency and help to stabilize the grids. If at all possible, we will meet the twin we would normally meet at the end of our incarnation cycles here. If we happen to have an avatar contract where we are supposed to not only activate 3 strands, but to go into 6, 9, or 12 strand activation, that means we're going to have an interesting life experience. First, we'll go through combining and meeting our 6 through 12 twin for density 1, and then that will run its cycle, and then we will seem to drift apart, and then in the same body, we'll end up finding our density 2 twin, and you'll have another relationship. That's how it will normally work if you are accelerating. Then after that, you'll find your density 3 twin, and each twinning you would find a deeper level of love and stronger level of bonding. Each level for each person would begin to open up their consciousness more and more because each twin is helping to activate the DNA template for both as they go. If you're a small gender twin coupling, or if it's just the person from this cycle that you were intended to meet, you'll be able to anchor what's called a Hala phase Merkaba, which is a 6-dimensional Merkaba. A Merkaba is an electromagnetic field in the shape of a star tetrahedron that is at its core has something called a form constant space. It's a spherical space that forms inside these spiraling, counter-rotating electromagnetic currents that form the star tetrahedron and creates reality fields. When you create your Merkaba vehicle, you literally are activating things in your body that create this spherical form constant, a light bubble around you in your auric field that allows you to pass through stargates without frying. When you bring gender twin couples together, they have the ability to rapidly activate their own Merkaba, accelerating their own DNA strand template activation. But they also have the ability to start bringing in higher frequencies, depending on what their particular coding is. Your twin will be a reflection of your own level. If people are open to the gender twin link, and you might actually be with your twin, and there are some people, like indigos, who manage to come through and move through the scrambled timelines where they actually found their gender twin. So if you're part of a married couple and it's a good thing happening, there's a chance you may have already found yours as the Ioni Council. If so, whatever bonds you have will amplify and get stronger. First, there will be a little clearing of conflict stuff from old patterns, and then there will be an even stronger bond than there was before if you have your twin with you. If you don't, and you're in one of those rocky relationships that you know it's all right for now, but I really have a feeling I'm not supposed to be here forever, it may be the fact that you're still paired with an Anunnaki or a Draconian that you don't belong with, and they don't belong with you anymore than you belong with them because they can't ascend either. If you're not really with the person you're supposed to be with, you're going to find out fast. It will probably kick up all this stuff that is disharmonic between you. Gender twins share the same DNA template, one spliced into the magnetic base magnetic where it's more drawing frequency, which would be female, and the other being its replicate, being the base electric, which would be the male body form. There are men and women on this planet whose DNA templates, the coding in the templates beneath the manifest strands, and which is reflected in the manifest strands, actually have total compatibility and harmony. the grids are going to do this on a mass level. They're going to reorder the timelines to start bringing the gender twins back together, both in the Ioni councils and in the general human populations. Astral relationships and gender twins. Astral relationships are the most dangerous thing that you can engage in with respect to the times in which we live. If your gender twin is not in a physical body, or you are not open to a physical relationship, there is one thing that will absolutely not be occurring in the astrals. They will not be sexual relationships or turn into what looks like a sexual relationship there. They may end up here as sexual bonding and committed relationships. In the astrals, if you take your astral body out and you go and have an affair, it is the same thing as linking your field sexually with someone here. They, those trying to hybridize us out of our 12-strand potential, are doing code saturation of the DNA template, and people are falling for it. The guardians will not use sexual bonding in the astrals and reject anyone claiming to be your twin if astral sex is initiated. If it is your gender twin, they won't do it that way. A lot of people have these lovely dreams of meeting their twins or partners and having lovely relationships in the astral. Some people believe that it's not real. And yes, it is. You're actually doing stuff in the astral, and then you bring your astral body back into your body here. Whatever frequency you pick up in the astral state down steps into your 3D body here. And so astral sex does count as sex. Fallen angelics that are doing code saturation of DNA templates will send imposters in to seduce people into orgasm. Even a mild orgasm opens a DNA template so the DNA template can be overlaid with reversals. These code overlays can lead to monadic reversal, inhibiting one's ability to continue with the ascension process. There are other ways to bond the fields naturally that do not engage what looks like sexuality or gender twins that can do this. Someone who is trying to infiltrate your fields would have to do different things to get into your fields because they don't have the DNA compatibility that a gender twin does. If they can get you to willingly open your fields by having an astral sexual encounter, they've got you. Any sexual encounter here or in the astrals involves an exchange of codes. Indiscriminate sex is very dangerous to your field integrity. You can undo a lot of hard work that you have done restoring your template by an indiscriminate liaison. It is the number one way that we are brought down. Before any sexual encounter, reinforce your flame body is good practice. Moda Adher A. The Moda Adher A complex is a series of 4 Hanatil-E or trifecta circles that connect to very specific parts of the body and Katharis centers. Although Moda means male and Adhara means female in the language of Anuhazi, the male human contains Adher A crystals within the body, and the female contains the Moda crystals within the body, so it's opposite. This is because the male leaves his replica of Moda aspect in Earth's core, and female leaves her Adher A replica in Earth's core. In other words, the male would leave a replica of himself in the planetary core and take the female with him, and vice versa. The Moda Adhara, or Adher A, is the quintessential example of the male within the female and the female within the male. It is our inner twin. The quickest way to bring in your gender twin is to activate it in the inside. We activate our inner twin within the Moda Adher A complex. The Moda Adher A are a set of crystalline structures that open what are called the 24 spheres of the lotus, which allows for the reactivation of the perimeter field. The key to regenerating our perimeter field lies in activating what is known as the Moda Adher A crystal complex. The complex can be viewed as 4 sets of Han-A-Til-E or trifecta circles around the area of the Latu A, the Azare A, Iumbi, and the tailbone. The crystal complex at the tailbone contains half of the DNA imprint of the Kathara Center 1, the other half being in Earth's core. The tailbone complex contains a series of duct systems that used to be important in combining the energies between male and females and was the basis of true sacred sex. The trifecta is the key to Moda Adura complex, which is the heliotalic processing center in the body. They connect in very specific parts of the body. We have an upper, middle, and lower Moda Adahare. The 24 elders, which is the 24 spheres of the lotus, exist on a cosmic level and step down to the personal body etheric membranes. Activating Moda Adahare complex means reactivating the set of spheres, which will dissolve the etheric membranes. There are membranes formed in various places in the bioenergetic system. You have to have all of them open so you don't douse yourself with frequency that your body can't hold when you release the big one that literally opens from D14 down. This is where you begin to activate the golden silver 1 buffer capsule. When we open the 24 spheres of the lotus, it is literally aligning all spheres on the right axes, activating them again, which will allow for the activation of the perimeter field. The perimeter field is a field that is created by the spinning of the Merkaba. As long as our perimeter field can spin, it can take any axis alignment it needs to link with the local gates and local seed atom. But when a perimeter field stops rotating, we are stuck with our main radial body field and we can't shift our axis. This is where we get phase locked into the shields. Because these Moda Adder A centers have been shut down in the body, it shut down these spheres in the body, which shut down the big rotational ones around the body. This has made it so the imprint of the solar shields called the zodiacal fetal imprint dominates all of the Kathara centers. We have been imprinted with all this excess misalignment. This distortion is core behind all the problems between male and female genders, as well as our inability to connect with our gender twin. The zodiacal fetal imprint is a shield of false time clock, known as the Nibirian Metatronic clock overlaying personal, planetary, galactic, and universal levels. It causes a misalignment with the time cycle so you aren't able to meet your gender twin. By activating the Moda Adar A, it begins to change all that. And during May 2003, Hefaro Electrical Peak, the planetary, galactic, and universal level Merkaba reached their peak spin speed together, and certain Merkaba configurations happened that allowed for a reset of the electrical natural Christoseed atom, which is the internalized mathematical pattern in the shields. During August 2003 Hethalon magnetic peak, the planetary, galactic, and universal level Merkaba reached their peak spin speed and went through transformation that allowed for the magnetic portions of the divine blueprint and the Christoseed atom to be reset. It is only during those states that the heliotalic frequencies directly from the Eka-core center open onto this planet, into the galaxy, and into this universe. There are only frequencies that are strong enough to allow us to do manual override and reactivate the Moda Adahar A complex that was deactivated in 208,216 BC. When we fully activate the Moda Adder A complex, we find a part of ourselves in our cells, which are the Adandarea. The Adandarea are the first crystal people who are the people of the Roosh. Mahadra Adrahana. The process of healing the Moda Adahura complex was initiated in Andorra in August 2003 with the anchoring of the Mahadra Adrahana Code. The Mahadra Adrahana Code is a shield template that runs through the Ark of the Covenant gates and restores the ability of the Moda Adahura complex and the 24 elders before the throne. The Mahadra Adrahana is literally an Ark of the Covenant buffer zone that expands into the planetary body and the planetary atmosphere under certain conditions. The MA code is at its core the Veka Mahadra, which is the electrical Christ code. The outer area is the Adrahana, which is the CCW magnetic field. CCW means the counterclockwise magnetic field. The script on the outside is called angelic script. The Mahadra Adrahana code is a combination of the Christ and the Christalla, the male Christ and the female Christalla. In the Akasha God worlds, you have the male template of the Christ, and inside of the Christ Kathara grid in the female Christalla Kathara grid, referred to Dance for Life. When you work with the Mahadra Adrahana introduction, we are working with a code that will allow us to carry the full pattern on a microcosmic level of the full Christ code, the Mahadra Adrahana. The Adrahana is in the area in ourselves that is referred to as the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is responsible for the fight or flight syndrome. It has also been called the well of dreams. It is a very important part of our anatomy because it literally regulates everything from metabolic rate and temperature to how frequency is processed through the Li-2A lens. Mother code convergence, male activates the female. During the Aani massacre period of Earth history, 22,326 BC, the Adandrea indigo races of Earth were given the security codes for activation of the Polarian matrix. The security codes known collectively as the Mother Code. As a parallel Eka represents the era dominant female, twin to your Eka's male, Man A dominant shield, was imbued into the Adandrea, Adon I, Adon A descent Earth indigo races and is passed on through the generations via the mitochondrial DNA RNA of the mother only. In contemporary races, descendants from the Adandrea line, 22,326 BC. As you might recall from earlier history briefings, the Adandrea allowed their tribal shield to be shattered and merged with Earth's planetary shield during the Aani massacre during Earth's last attempt with the stellar activation cycle, SAC. Through this act of selfless love, the Adandrea had given Earth the gift of the Polarian matrix mother code, which would allow the Earth body itself to call the Polarian matrix into activation during the next present-day SAC, stellar activation cycle, in the potential event of attempted Buddha-Ra invasion. If, in the drama of between 2000 and 2017 AD, SAC, stellar activation cycle, Buddhadra invasion became imminent, the Adandrea, Aani indigo of Earth, would awaken the mother code in the female DNA RNA to activate the Polarian matrix in Earth's body. Though the mother code, also the Mary code, refers to a later hijacked attempts of these gene lines, is carried by female bodies. It is able to activate within the female bodies only through activation keys carried by the male twin counterpart of the female. Thus, the mother code is carried by the women, activated by the men, and together the male and female twin sets the Adon Dondrea indigos bring the code into activation within Earth's shield. This is done through a very specific Lotus Arc technologies that will soon be introduced. Technologies which will enable both males and females to link with the Akasha base shield to pick up their twin code, even if their Maharic twin is not embodied. Those twin pairs on Earth that are viably embodied and together will activate their mother code set together to enable the indigo shield to access the Akasha base shield for the Polarian matrix activation. Activations of Earth Polarian matrix is a very big and very sacred mission, a major event within the larger body of the Christos realignment mission. During November 21st and 22nd in 2004, there was an event called the Anchoring the Polarian Matrix Mother Code Activation in Earth Shields, and that was called Lady Gaia Awakening. This event marks the activation of the male Polarian code activation keys within the electrical Earth grids and the electrical Merkaba spiral, and within the male and androgynous gender Adondrea descent incarnate indigo bodies. The electrical Man A, Lady Gaia Awakening during the event in 2004 was followed by another event in December 12, 2004. And when this activation reached its critical mass in the female ERA aspects of the planetary shields and the female DNA RNA template initiating activations of the mitochondrial mother code in the female androgynous bodies and grids, that December 12th event was called the Mother Code Convergence, as the male activation keys and quote, female carrier codes of the Polarian Matrix Security Activation Code Set converge within the planetary shields, initiating the activation sequence of the Polarian Matrix Trinity Gate Arc Gate Linking Network. Please note, androgynous gender indigos will carry either male or female code set or half of each, but do not carry the full set of the mother codes and their keys. It is the collaborative efforts of the three genders, yes, three genders, that allows the Polarian Matrix security key codes to activate in the indigo tribal shield to facilitate unbalanced downstepping of the Polarian matrix into the Earth's shields. State of Han Atilia. Eternal Christiac living light units engage in a perpetual dance that brings in the living light frequencies, eventually enabling one to enter the sacred states of God-mind consciousness known as Han Atilia and Atan Atilia. First, the Veka Shala flames projects its life force through what is called the Loda crystal body, polarizing the 90-degree thrust charge of Partakai, PKI light units. It polarizes part of itself into a 33 1/3 electrical and 11 2/3 magnetic and holds the 45 degree of the charge. It actually replicates itself, breaks down itself, and holds itself intact. The light units project at a 45-degree angle from center point. They project out and spread to 45 degrees, and that is their flash on point. One equals clockwise electrical, and one counterclockwise magnetic. They begin spinning together, not away, rotating their axis. As they spin together, the axis begins to close up as one spins clockwise, and one spins counterclockwise towards 0 point, which is the original angle that the first burst came out on as it's polarized. When natural light hits this phase, it goes through another phase that is interesting. This is where we begin to understand Han-a-til-ia and Athana-til-ia. They are states of light or phases that eternal light passes through. When the two move together to a point where they hit 30 degrees from the 0 point line, that brings them into something called a trivecafold. On the trivecafold is where the two forces come together at 0 point, and the angles that they intersect at is 0 point. That is where the Christ spark is generated. When they hit that point right there at the trivecafold, it is called the Hana-til-ia state. That is where the burst of new frequency that is replicated here. A replica of the 90-degree charge breaks down itself and leaves a 45-degree of its replica here. Light like this continually refuels itself, and it is eternal. And after it hits that point, it continues to accelerate and move to the center, and they actually pass through each other. The state of Han-a-til-ia was a natural condition until the Moda Adahara was shut down in 208,216 BC. It takes 48 simultaneous lotus breaths to be able to reactivate the Moda Adar-A complex. Once activated, we begin healing our karmic miasmic imprint, which clears the zodiacal fetal imprint. We begin clearing the zodiacal fetal imprint, and please refer to the cosmic clock, that's the full name, by activating the Moda Adar-A complex through activation and clearing of the 24 blood crystals. The 24 blood crystals are also referred to as the 24 elders before the throne, the 24 spheres of the lotus, the music of the spheres, and the silent symphony. They all have to do with the state of Athan-atil-ia. In the sacred state of self, one is within Hana-til-ia state, generating the frequency to make love to with the self. The constant orgasm, or the ecstasy, often discussed in what remains of some of the true sacred sexuality teachings, refers to the state of Hana-til-ia and Athana-til-ia. Athana-til-ia is full synchronization of all the Merkabas that allows for the complete self-sustaining building of the Akasha Tribeca Merkaba and the flame body field. State of Athana-til-ia. After the state of Hana-til-ia is reached, the light units continue an accelerated movement toward the 0 point, and these two spheres end up in the same space and enter a biveca fold. A natural biveca fold where you have what was 2 here becomes 1, and now these are the only 2 left instead of the 3. And then they enter what is called the Athana-til-ia state, where the 3 become 2 and go back into 1. That is what it is called the meiotic dyadic grid. It's fully open. It fully opens the low-T PCM, the particum, and the low-T, the partica pKa crystals fully merge and shift 45 degrees and go back into the axis of the Lota Eka, which means they depolarize and demanifest in the Veka systems. And then the whole process pops back on again. This is how light is supposed to circulate. To achieve Athana-til-ia, you would bring the 4 faces of the soul, you and your gender twin here, and you're set on parallel together, which begins building the Akasha Tribeca Merkaba. The structures for this type of sacred union exist in the Moda Adahara complex. When you bring your gender twin couples together, they have the ability to rapidly activate their own Merkaba, accelerating their own DNA strand template activation. We activate our inner twin with the Moda Adhara. The Moda Adhara links the Umbi, Azarae, the Rajna points into Athonatilia. The density 3 mental body is the seed of the Atonatilia. Atonatilia can be reached with your gender twin on planet. The 2 become 3, become 1, demanifesting the Vecca system to the next level. Same gender twins. When you have unnatural distortions, when you get half and half because of the blended Merkaba field on this planet, 25,500 BC, it creates half of us male and half of us female in the wrong proportions in the same body and shuts down the natural Moda Adhara centers, which would normally balance those frequencies back out and bring the Merkabas back into natural alignment. There were all sorts of things done on this planet to force unnatural blendings. That doesn't mean that there is a problem with male-male and female-female coming together, but there are certain considerations with the Merkaba field that one needs to understand if they're going to reach Athon Atil E together. Homosexuality is not a negative thing in this context, although homosexuality is generally misunderstood in this reality system. And there are ways that the polarities can be brought into balance so that it's not an anomaly. People here are treated as if it were an anomaly because there are actually ways the same genders pair can trigger faster integration of their parallel selves. This makes them a bigger threat in a dogmatic society that is trying to control the sexual energies of people. Remember that you plus your gender twin and the set of you on parallel are the 4 aspects of self, or the 4 faces of the soul that you need to assemble in order to ascend to the next level. There are certain advantages that come with being a same gender twin, and this is why it's been repressed for so long. Why there has been such a campaign against being gay, or whether you are male or female. There were ancient rites that were natural for people who chose this path, and that go all the way up to the dimensional scale when frequencies are combined as same gender sex twins. Take the body parts away and imagine what homosexuality would look like on a density 4. There are no longer physical bodies with body parts. We are talking about beautiful spheres of light coming together in a special way that can run huge amounts of frequency and can blend their consciousness to know each other on every level, in all ways. When gender twins encounter problems with twisting in their energy fields, it has to do with dimensional Merkaba gender polarity scale being mismatched. This is where you get a male soul incarnating in a female body. Their Merkabas can end up going the wrong way because of distortions. Whatever the universal Merkaba is in your quadrant, your density, void Merkaba fields will take on that configuration. So if it is what it is called a base male, base man A template, a D12, all your void fields levels would have had that type of Merkaba. In our case, the PCM, Particum universe, we have 33 1/3 clockwise electrical on the top and 11 2/3 counterclockwise magnetic on the bottom. A female would still have a clockwise top spiral, but on a dimensional level, not density, would have a 11 2/3 rather than 33 1/3. So they are bringing in 11 2/3 man A instead of 33 1/3. In the female, the bottom spiral would still be going counterclockwise, but it would be going faster at 33 1/3. If you have a male body or a female body in a particular or antiparticle universe, how your Merkaba spins with respect to whether if you're male or female tells you everything. For example, if it's a female, You know it's going to be spinning counterclockwise, and it is ear A dominant, which means it would have the 11 and 2/3 Manet instead. In the Particum universe, PCM, the Christos seed atom, monad, is D13, counterclockwise female. Everyone in the universe would have a core female monad, but males would have a clockwise one put in there. So it changes their polarity balance all the way down. When you get to D2, it would be a male, and that is good. Because if it wasn't, it would be a male walking around in a female body. You have a male body at D2 if you have a male monad, and you have a female body at D2 if you have a female monad. And not just D2, but D2, D5, D8, and D11, and all the way up the staff. And for those of you that do not know what I'm talking about when I say D2, D5, D8, or D11, those would be dimensions I'm talking about. I digress. I know there's a lot of debate about homosexuality, especially right now at this time with what's going on with politics and the agenda. But I want you to keep in mind that this was written probably around 2000, 2002. That agenda wasn't as bold as it is now. It also is looking at this at an energetic level, at a dimension 12, 11, and 10. In the harmonic universe 4, which is a liquid light body. We don't have a body in harmonic universe 4. It's almost like the body is like Mercury. So there isn't a sex. So I just wanted to put it in perspective for all of you who, when I read that portion of the book, kind of, their hair stood up on end. It really is about really just loving one another, and that's what the point was. And it's going into the science of how your Merkaba spins differently when you have the body, the sexes switched in bodies. So I just wanted to at least put a little statement in there so all the black and white thinkers aren't having a meltdown, basically. Okay, thank you. Sacred sexuality. Once upon a time, sexuality was a great sharing where you could reach states where 2 became 3, became 1, that were so expanded that you could run so much frequency into the planet that it was a birthing of frequency into the planet. There were ways to achieve states of constant orgasm without having anything to do with sex at all. This is what has often translated into some doctrines as the ecstasy, where you just walk around in those states. This has to do with the states of Han-A till Ia and Athan-A till Ia. Sexual interaction used to bring us to and through the planet, solar system, and all the way back to source. The 2 became 3 and the 3 became 1 as beings come together in sacred union. You have each being's field plus the combined field of the union. There was a time when field blending of partners would begin 3 days before potential sexual encounter. Sacred sexuality does not involve giving to the partner. It involves giving to the self, with or without a partner. One is also giving to the planet and on up through the Stargate chain. Once upon a time, to engage in sexuality was precious. People realized that each other and the universe and source were all coming together as one. It was sacred. The whole ritual was sacred, starting with what you ate 3 days before, to what you did with your body, your mind, and your emotion 3 days before, all the way up to what you had built in frequency in your body to give and to share with another. Because you weren't just giving to each other, you were giving something to the planet, and the planet would pass it on to the solar system all the way up the chain. Sexuality is about combining Kundalini coding and DNA coding. When you unite with someone, you are taking on part of their codes. They are taking on part of your codes with respect to DNA template scalar wave patterns. During sacred sexuality, the selves, the universe, and God come together in joyful merger to experience ecstatic status of God-mind consciousness. The partner's DNA templates merge, and this occurs whether or not the body physically engage in sex. With the mechanics of sacred sexuality, you can experience both Hana Atilia without a partner on a planet, and Athan Atilia with a partner who may be our gender twin, but may also be our same gender twin in certain cases. There is a reason why when you put a male and female body parts together, that something happens. It is all about frequency being carried and what you can do with those frequencies. When gender twins come together as souls, oversouls, avatars, or rishis in sacred union, the kundalini currents of each of them combined, and they can run huge amounts of frequency together that can be used for healing and manifestation, birthing the Kamalatia flame. Our Ekalatora A flame is male, but holds within it the imprint of its twin flame, the female L'Adore. The parallel side has an imprint of our L'Etore flame within their L'Adore flame. In our system, we have the female flame inside the male flame, and the parallel system has the male flame inside their female flame. Interactions of twin flames is where manifestation takes place. When the Li Ettore flame of our male Eka joins with the female Li Adore flame of the parallel Eka, they create the Kamalatia flame. The twin flames of the Eka come together in a sacred union and birth the Kamalatia flame. When the two twin flames interact with each other is when you actually get manifestation taking place. It is the interaction between the two that creates the etheric and catheric template, which are the things that you don't see in the physical manifestation, but actually hold the forms together for the physical manifestation. The whole phasing motion is the set in motion by the cell of the opposite polarity, that of the twin. So the twin flame of the Li Ettore is the Li Adore female. The ethos frequency and its twin frequencies of the eros come together with an imprint of the density body ethos. Ethos is a positive male electric, and eros is a negative female magnetic. I'm going to unpack ethos and eros a little bit more, and I digress to the Keylontic Dictionary. Earth. We have an ethos light self that's down below us, upside down, and we have an eros self above us, our sound self. These are our light and sound bodies. Ethos is the light body, and the eros is the sound body. And when they come together and they phase together properly like they are supposed to, they continually recreate the matter body as the eternal life system. The ethos is the light imprint. The eros is the sound part, which is the sound body. And when they come together, when phasing happens, where that one comes down, the other comes up. And they create the matter body, incarnate identity in the center. Hana means co-joining of divine complements. The Ha-Ana is a modern rendering of the original pre-ancient Melchizedek cloister Emerald Order wedding ceremony. The spoken ceremony consists of a set of beautiful, egalitarian spiritual vows called the Trinacine Covenants, representing the Trinity of the eternal flame, that are made, taken, and shared between each of the life partners and God Source, the covenants thus representing an outer expression of the inner spiritual commitment to move forward as life partners according to the Christiac principles of the divine right order and divine right action. The ceremony presides over one male and one female, both ordained Melchizedek cloister ministers. The ceremony includes a water baptism, which energetically serves as a symbolically represent the new birth of two individuals into the trinity of their shared life path and to become three within the one, which is also celebrated by unique ring exchange representing the union of both spiritual and physical hearts. Since December 21st, 2004, the successful anchoring of the Polarian wave, the Ha-Na rite has incorporated the Sha-Na-Ta component. This component represents the potentiality of mutual opening of the D13 and D1 aspects, the Li Ettore and the Li Adore twin flames. Activate, merge, and reunite, opening of the possibility for natural base 12 braiding and resultant progressive combining of the respective D13 and D1 lotus arc petal sets. The mirror of self. When we talk about the karmic miasmic imprint, processing miasmic alone can be a blessing and a curse. One of the reasons people exist in partnerships is for spiritual perspective and is dedicated to entirely to grow as it is on inner earth. Primarily, we are here to help each other grow. There isn't a miasm occurring on the planet in a couple situation that concerns only one of them. The miasms always concerns both. They both have an involvement and have a reason for it being there. They all have to do with the male-female relationship. The pairs will grow much healthier and much closer than ever thought possible if they can look at each other with compassion and understand the equal suffering we've done. Miasms are generated by the pair that are together at the given time. Sometimes pairs will come and go together in order to address some of those influences. Bear in mind that miasms will continue to accrete negative frequencies whilst ever they remain. And when you are with your twin, the mirror of self can be a very real experience. You will see things in your twin that you love and admire, and you may see things in your twin that are showing you where you both need to take it to the next level. Our twins, of all people, will act as huge mirror for any of our distorted through patterns or behaviors. At times, when one of your twin is processing a miasm, instead of doing it alone, sometimes just connecting with your twin on whatever level that is can make all the difference in the world. The combined frequency of twins shift the energies, and it makes it easier to move through whatever the experience is. Neither of you can ascend to the next level if you do not honestly look into the mirror of self. We complete with an excerpt of Ashayana speaking during a Bermuda workshop that they were preparing for Contact July 2002. So the miasms are very, very male-female. They're very much joined and generated by the pair that are together at the given time. Sometimes pairs will come and go together in order to address some of those influences. Bear in mind the miasms are compaction, but also foster the stubbornness of shadow and the kind of behavior of the apartheid. In other words, they will continue to accrete negative frequencies whilst ever they remain. People who have a lot of clearing to do, it is not a bad thing that people seem to have close associations with a number of people. It is not because they are addicted to love or aspects of love. Really, the higher and deeper drive will be that they actually recognize on those levels that there are miasms to clear. By being of service to another without being conscious of it is a good thing to do. Recognize each other when you go through this process. Try and sense their coming. They always have a similar pattern. For example, they will always involve people not hearing what the other one is saying. Until you can find ways of dealing with it together, you have to make allowances for that. You may have to apologize for behavior that doesn't seem like you, because when you're having a miasm, it's not you. It is the being in the other places clearing it through you, but you agreed that you would. So you don't have to go through endless justification and saying that it wasn't really you. It's just that you didn't recognize it. All that stuff is just taking you back into the victim-victimizer game. It is taking you back into feelings of powerless because the person you love isn't liking you right now. And you don't know what to say because you don't know what happened. I'm going to read an example, and it's kind of silly, but it's an example so you get an idea. Where did that come from? I have never been such a pig before. Well, you are being a pig now. And then you say, well, it wasn't me. And your partner says, it sure looked like you. Anyway, I was listening to you. No, you weren't. Yes, I was. No, you weren't. You will find that this pattern will reoccur. It will be perfectly formed. And as you form a relationship with it and the signature it carries, and you acknowledge it and you talk with your friend, you say, look, I'm such a dumbass. I didn't handle this well. I didn't either. And with a little bit of love and recognition, that little extra bit of union will come into it, and you'll be stronger for it. There are bunches and bunches of power available to you. If only you will decide to have a conscious relationship with whoever you are called to do it with. It is really, really possible. It isn't very easy, and it is not a lot of fun sometimes, but you can do it. And you say to yourself, I will. Look at these guys. They are so excited that I'm done making this video. They've been so patient. And I just want to give a good shout out to Enzo, Jackson, and our little guest Lulu for being so patient while making this video. Thank you, everybody. We love you. Especially Enzo.